Well, greetings, Cap fans. Welcome to a very special episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. It's episode 237, but it is one of my favorite topics. I'm Rick Verbanis. I'm your host. I've got a co host, best one gosh darn out there. His name is Bob Lucius. Oh, Bob, no one can stop a ticking clock, but the great ones always find a way to slow it down.
I don't know what I'm supposed to read into that. Are you suggesting that I slow down this show?
No, 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 no.
No. Oh, okay.
This is in reference to the draft that we're doing today, and
Ooh,
you're the
I
timekeeper,
am the timekeeper.
and I have gotten ridiculed for taking too much time for my picks.
Mm,
But the
that,
quote, Bob,
yeah,
I don't suspect you know the quote. It's
I
from
don't.
a movie called Draft Day, and it came out
Mm.
in 2014.
Is that a
And
World War II movie?
no, no,
No.
it's a story about the NFL draft.
The Who?
NFL. That would be
Oh,
the
yeah.
National Football
Okay.
League.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so the Cleveland Browns general manager, fictional character of by the name of Sonny Weaver Jr., played by Kevin
Burt Reynolds.
Costner.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a quote from him. So the great ones always find a way to slow it down, the clock.
I think I'm only familiar with two football themed movies. One of them had Burt Reynolds.
The Longest Yard. Yep.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
that's my go-to when you say football movie. Must be a Burt Reynolds movie. And the
Mm-hmm.
other one was Warren Beatty.
Warren Beatty.
You don't know that one, huh?
What is it?
It wasn't really about football, but he was a football player, right? Heaven Can Wait.
Oh yeah, that's not a football movie. Come
Well,
on.
had a football player though.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so
Oh,
that's it.
okay.
So that's my options. If you say football movie, I go, is it a Warren Beatty or is it a Burt Reynolds movie?
You never saw Rudy?
Who?
Oh my
Oh, Rudy.
goodness.
No, no, no. My wife is a huge Rudy fan, as is my son. So they have watched it many times.
Well, I didn't ask if your family watched a
I
movie,
have
Bob. I
floated I
asked you if
I
you
have
watched the
floated
movie.
I floated through the room.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's an inspirational movie, Bob.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
All
You
right.
know, you like was it Ted Lasso, right?
I do like Ted Lasso.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, if you like Ted Lasso, why would you not want to watch an inspirational football movie?
Ooh. It's a good question.
Yeah, you need to see Rudy. But
All right.
as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, I'm really partial to a movie called Invincible, which is based on a true story,
Mm,
just like Rudy was based on a true story. But Invincible is about this guy by the name of Vince Pampali, and this
yeah.
takes place in the mid 70s, and it's a period movie, and it stars oh gosh, I can't remember his name right now. Um, It'll come to me. But anyway,
Mm, mm,
it's a great movie, great soundtrack. But it's Vince Papali was a like a 30-year-old bartender, fired substitute teacher who played football kind of like with his friends, and he was really good. And when Dick Vermeil comes from UCLA to take over to coach the Philadelphia Eagles, he holds an open tryout, and everybody and their brother who thinks they know how to play football show up for this open tryout. And he was the only one to make it. And he bucked the odds, and the players on the team didn't like him and didn't want him on the team. It was a really, really inspirational movie. So again, you don't have to be a football fan
all right.
to like a movie like that.
All right. Well, I do know two other football movies.
Okay.
Brian Song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Ryan
Yeah.
O'Neal, right?
Hmm.
Classic, right? And one of my favorite all-time movies, which, by the way, you jogged my memory because you brought up Ted Lasso. They play the theme song for this movie in the background in one episode. Does anybody know what it is?
Oh, is this um gosh,
No.
it's what's his name? Who?
You didn't even see Ted Lasso.
No, 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 no. But I'm telling you, I have an idea. I have
Yeah.
an idea. Is the main character a black high school coach?
No.
Okay.
That's the one with Denzel Washington, right?
Yes, that's what I
Yeah,
was thinking
yeah,
of. Yeah, that's a great movie.
yeah. Oh, yeah, it's a good one, right? I think I've heard of that one. No, I was thinking of the 1981 movie Victory with Sylvester Stallone.
That's what?
Well, that's what they call it football in Europe, Rick.
And it's not Sylvester Stallone. It
Victory.
was Pele was in that movie.
Yeah, Sylvester Stallone was in that movie too.
Was he?
Pele, Max
I
von
don't remember.
Sydow, Michael Caine, I think, was in that movie. Oh
Yeah, I think
yeah.
Michael Caine is. But no, the guy who was the head American who was the POW in that movie?
Ooh, I don't know. Let's see. I'm looking at the. Let's see. It's got Sylvester Stallone, Michael Caine, Max von Sydow. Um, Man, that's such a good movie.
Yeah, it was a good, really good
Such a
movie.
good
Yeah,
movie.
yeah,
As you noted, Pele was in it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That upside down kick he makes at the end is
had
just
a
incredible.
whole bunch of professional football players.
Yeah.
Soccer. Yeah.
I just want to apologize to our Captain America comic book fan listeners right now who basically think of did I dial accidentally into a sports
Well, see what I did
podcast?
there, Rick? I used a loophole. I used the
Mm,
European term for football.
yes, you did. Yes, football. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, anyway, so we're going to be we have a couple guests on the show today, a couple of our patron listeners, and these are what we call super soldiers. They have been patrons for the show for a while now, and one of the perks of being a patron of the show, especially if you're a super soldier, is once a year you get to come on the show. And so our two guests today really wanted to come on this one because, Bob, I think they wanted to beat you in the best story possible that they can draft. So, welcome to the show. We have Nate Charles and Matthew Glover.
Happy to be here.
Welcome back, gentlemen.
Now, these guys are no stranger to the show. They've both been on the show before. I think Matthew a couple times, and so I think Matthew, the last time you were on the show was the last draft, which was the Captain America comic book fantasy draft number 3. Which today is number 4, and that was episode 206. And then Nate Charles came on when we did a nightcap, and he had a topic of the top 10 alternate universe Captain Americas. Oh, no, no, wait. I'm confusing it. It was the top 10 Captain America uniforms.
That's correct. Yep.
Yes. So that was episode 211, if you want to check that out. And both of them gave their secret origin stories during those episodes and how they got into Cap and everything. So if you want to check those out to learn more about Matthew and Nate, uh, please feel free to do so and then come back here. Ah, Matthew, I have a question for you.
Okay.
All right. Um, so there was a question that I had posed in the Facebook group. This was on March 29th. I know this is so much.
This isn't the mommy and daddy question, is
Yes, yes, it is, Bob. Yes, it is. Because I thought it was funny that when it was John Walker versus Ian Rogers in our bracket on Facebook, I voted and you voted, and no one else had voted at that point. I was like, "Oh, look at this! It's the it's you and me being the first 2 votes. How about that? Oh, and look at this. We're doing the exact opposite. You voted for Ian Rogers. I voted for John Walker, and so I took a little screenshot. I thought it was funny that that was the case. So I said, I posted here. I said the first 2 votes were Bob and Rick. Do the listeners like it when we disagree, or don't like it when mom and dad fight? And then I said, and which one of us is mom and which one of us is dad? Just having a little fun, right? And we got a few answers, Bob.
we did. Yeah,
Yes.
there's some off the wall answers there. Yeah.
Grant Ball was the only one to say, fight, 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 fight. So he likes it when we disagree. No one else answered that question. Everyone's focused on the who is mom and who is dad, and basically unanimously, Bob, you're the dad, I'm the mom.
Yeah, you know why, Rick?
Well, they had a few answers, but some
Yeah.
of them refused to answer why. They just said, "It's a feeling. I don't know."
Yeah.
Why do you think, Bob?
Because moms are always tougher with the rules.
Mm.
They're always stickler for the rules,
That's
right?
an excellent point. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that might come to fruition tonight. We'll see.
Except in my household, I
Oh
think
yeah,
dad's
yeah,
tougher on the rules. Yeah. That's again, it's the Libra in me. So,
yeah.
yeah. So Tom Boyd was first to answer, and he said Bob is definitely dad. Period. Boom. Done. That's all he had to say. But you know, it was interesting. Several people agreed or laughed at that comment. You know who agreed? Matthew Glover. Matthew, now that we have you on the show, would you care to expand on why I'm the mom and Bob's the dad?
Well, how ooh, man, you got me right to the irons on this. Uh I think it
And there's
comes
no wrong answer. Don't. It's okay. I unlike some people, I'm not a sexist. I don't care if that I'm being called the mom. That's absolutely fine as long as the reasoning's right.
well, there's a stereotype that plays out in many traditional family structures that the mother does the housekeeping and all the work and keeps the house running, and sometimes dad just swoops in and takes credit.
There it is. There it is, folks. I don't know if I should be tickled or offended, but thank you.
it it's funny you should say that because Seth Offenberger had this to share. He said, "You spend all day making a delicious dinner for Bob, and Bob shows up and forgets he even said he likes what's on the menu."
There it is.
Exactly.
There it
Yeah.
is, folks.
Then he goes on to say, "Oh, let's see. Mom's drinking spritzers, and Dad drinks from a can with a man on it." And then he
Okay.
goes on to say, Mom drinks Zima, and Dad rolls his t shirts up and has a stalker who, per mom, has a dad complex. I'm now being referred to as mom.
Well, it's a term of endearment.
I love my mom. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Nate, you're awfully quiet.
Hey, well, I was, letting Matt take all the heat while you could. I mean, if I'm being honest with you here, Rick, your mom and Bob's dad, if only because from my family experience, mom likes to sit around and drink on the beach, and dad likes to go for hikes and get some stuff done, not usually
All
pertaining to
right.
mom's agenda. So,
All right.
All
That's
right.
fair.
All right. Okay.
I'll drink a spritzer to that.
Yep. Rick's drink of choice. What's your drink of choice again, Rick?
It is vodka with tonight. Actually, it is strawberry infused vodka. We had some strawberries that were kind of turning, and so we put them in a pitcher and added the vodka to it, and then that makes a strawberry flavored vodka after a couple of days. And so add that with a little bit of lemonade, and then some seltzer, and you mix it up with a big tall glass of ice. It's refreshing.
Case closed, Nate.
Yeah.
I rest my case.
Jameson's Irish whiskey.
Nate and Matthew, how are you guys doing in the bracket? Did you fill out a bracket ahead of time, or did you take some guesses on who you thought was going to make it, and have everybody that you voted for advance so far?
So I did fill out a bracket. So far, I think maybe there's like one or two that surprised me, but so far I think I've got it pretty well locked up.
Oh, okay. So some people that when you say surprised you, like you people that you were hoping or thinking were didn't make it.
So the logical brain said these ones are going to go through. The hoping for me is how I vote.
Gotcha. How about you, Nate?
so I did not print out a bracket. I have managed to vote every day, but I just haven't really had time to really keep track. From what I've seen when I've been laying down votes so far, it's been going about the way that I would expect with, how they're laid out. But I don't know. I have a couple guesses on who I think may go all the way.
All right. Well, who are they? Who's your guesses
I
for the
think the big
final
one
two?
is, and maybe because, like I said, I haven't been able to pay attention to it as close, but I have a feeling Bucky Barnes is going to go pretty far in this thing.
Okay. He might even be the first pick of the draft. You never know.
Who's this character?
Yeah.
Familiar.
Matthew, who do you think's going to go all the way?
I think it's Bucky. Just kind of based on how that got seeded out, he's a shoe-in to get to the 16, at least the final four for sure.
Yeah. Well,
And but you think he'll prevail?
Overall, it's gonna get tough. You pick the best villain against
9.
Mr. Bucky Barnes.
No, Bob, only two. Only two.
Only 2. Okay, got it. I'm sorry.
We'll see, but I think Bucky's gonna clinch it.
Interesting.
All right. We'll see what happens. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. So thanks for voting and thanks for participating in it. I hope you guys are enjoying it and it brings a little bit of cap fun for you on a daily basis in the month of March and April.
I feel like we should trademark that. Cap fun.
People at work, a guy keeps telling me, he's like, you should monetize this. And I'm like, dude, I don't know how to I'm like, I don't make money on the podcast. What makes you think I'm going to make money on a podcast?
I'll give you $10 a month. I don't know.
Well, and you do, and we appreciate that, and that's why you're here today. But those coins are expensive, and some of the other bills too. But let's just say I'm not quitting my day job anytime soon. All right. Should we get to seeing who's going to be going in draft order?
Well, we probably should do that.
The question that the listeners want to know is if Rick is going to go first again.
It would be fourth time in a row.
Nate Charles, you had some thoughts on this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If he goes first again, I'm calling shenanigans. Absolutely. There's no way. No way this works out that way.
All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Wheel of Names.
Ooh.
Oh, you even gave me green. I dig that. Thank you.
You got it, man. All right. So I'm going to spin the wheel for who's going to get first, and then we'll spin it, and who's gets second, and then we'll keep going, and then that's the draft order. Now, the good news is, if you don't like your draft order, you can always make an offer to someone else and trade. So keep that in mind. All right, here we go. You guys ready?
Yep.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. For the first pick in the Captain America comic book fantasy draft, number 1, Matthew.
Woo!
Congratulations, Matthew.
Thank you.
Thank you, studio audience.
All right, pick number 2. All right, so I got 2. It's not bad. I'll take it. And for 3 and 4. Bob, what are you rooting for? What would you like to get?
I don't know, Rick. I'm fairly confident most of my picks are under jeopardy, so it doesn't really matter.
All right, here we go. Pick number 3 is Nate, with Bob getting number 4. All right.
I've never done a draft of any sort before, by the way, guys. So this is, aside from listening to your episodes, this is totally new for me.
Well, you know the rules, right?
I do know the rules. I mean, you sent them out, so I'm hoping I got them correct. If I don't, I know you'll call me out on it, though.
That's true. All right.
Can you, if there's a question, we all vote, and of course, we all vote against Rick. So it's not a problem.
I actually listened to the last 2 here over the weekend when I had just a little bit of free time when I was out on hikes and whatnot. But
and you still came on.
Yeah, I still came on.
We're gonna have to do like a 8 or 10 person draft and do like just bring on everybody that's ever done a draft, and it's like shorter teams, but
wow,
more drafting.
You say about doing the larger draft. I'm going to be honest with you. I wish I would have had about 2 more picks for the original story I wanted to tell. I had to actually switch things up and
It's hard. Yeah.
I've been thinking about this and trying to figure out how to draft a story with the bones without knowing which characters you're going to get. So I've
Mm.
got this like Mad Lib like story to see if I can make it work.
Oh, me
Good
too, man.
strategy.
That's exactly how I ended up doing it.
You know what? You guys are smart.
Yeah.
I did not. I have a story that is really, really based on a few different characters, and if I don't get them, I'm in bad. Like if I don't get the one of them, I have I I'm really screwed.
Mm.
You're gonna have
But
to
but
make
if
like
I
Ross
do
and Pivot.
get it, it's going to be such a cool story, and I know Bob would love it.
All right. I like that.
Ah,
If
That
only,
worries that, however, that worries me.
if only we had the resources of Marvel behind us, so that the story that gets the most votes actually gets made. Like I
I
don't
know,
know,
right?
Tom Boyd's.
Well,
Let's
the
have Alana Smith's number. I mean, why can't we do this?
the Alana Smith episode drops tonight. And she does say something interesting in there because somebody had one of the questions that was sent in suggested something, and she was like, "Well, we're not allowed to take unsolicited ideas, so we can't do this one now."
Never do that.
And then it's like, "Oh no!"
That sounds like a future episode.
Yeah, I know, right?
She takes all solicitations.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Llévate más de lo que esperas todos los días con el nuevo McValue en McDonald's. Ahora puedes comprar uno y sumarle otro por $1. Así que cuando tu equipo favorito enfrente a sus rivales, enfrenta tus antojos con $5 Meal Deals. Y si estás corriendo para alcanzar el desayuno, corre al app para llevarte ofertas antes del cutoff. Tú decides, y con McValue, tu decisión siempre rinde más. Precios y participación pueden variar. BOGO $1 válido para un producto de igual o menor valor. Debe estar registrado en Rewards para ofertas en el app.
All right, now that we know our draft order, let's go over the rules because Bob never remembers them.
Mhm.
Okay, so we've got the four of us Cap fans drafting Cap-related characters over the course of 8 rounds, ultimately using these 8 characters to form a story, which we are going to pitch at the end of this show. The listeners are going to get to vote on which story they would like to read the most in our Facebook group. So, what's the catch? Well, we all start with Steve Rogers, and then the 8 draft picks must be from a Captain America title and include one villain, one former or current love interest, one former foe turned ally, and one civilian. And Bob, what's a civilian again?
It's a very different thing than the way that you've defined it. But in terms of your definition, it is not a superhero or not somebody that works for an organization that is involved in, I think something about law enforcement or
Fighting crime. Yeah,
fighting crime.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yep. So they don't have any powers, and they're not currently doing any kind of organized crime fighting.
Right.
Yes. Okay. So obviously picking our characters is very strategic. So now keep in mind, this is a snake draft. And so for those not familiar with fantasy football drafts, that means whoever has the first pick in the first round gets the last pick in the second round. And then the cycle continues back and forth. So that way, no one really has, a huge advantage. And as I said before, we can make trades if you don't like your pick. Does everybody like their pick, or does someone want to make a trade offer?
So explain to me how that works, just because what do I have to trade basically? If I don't want to go third, and I would say to Matt, hey, I would like to trade you for first place.
I think we need to go offline for that.
No, I don't think so.
No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, so Matthew's probably thinking, all right, well, how you gonna sweeten the deal? Because I like number one. Now, of course, he may say, well, I actually would prefer number three because I don't think my character is going to be, and I'd rather pick faster in the second round. Who knows? But I don't know. You could say, well, I'll give you a mulligan or something. If I pick your character and you were like, oh, that's my character, well, then maybe I'll throw him back in the pool or something like that. I'll give you one shot at that, so I can move up to the first pick. Who knows? I don't know.
I think I'm going to let this one lie. Just
Oh yeah. Sounds
my
complicated.
first
Right,
time
yeah,
doing
yeah, I got
this draft thing, so I'm gonna take the cards I was dealt
it.
here.
Yeah.
Okay.
It may impact my story going down through here a little bit, but we'll see.
That's fair. All right, Bob. Will you be so kind to be the timekeeper?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we've got 1 minute that each of us gets on the clock to make our pick, and then we have up to 1 minute to any commentary afterwards on why they made the pick or any anecdote or something like that, and then it moves on to the next person, and Bob will tell them you're on the clock, and then the clock starts. After we get through 4 rounds, we'll take a little break and do a recap of halfway through the draft of what everybody is, where they're at. Because again, remember, you got to fill those categories and you got to have at least 5 different decades represented. So it gets a little tricky at the end if you've been sniped once or twice, trying to find something to fill that category or fill that decade that you don't have. Any questions before we get started?
I'm regretting. I wish I had done just a little bit more research and character stacking, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Let's do this. It's gonna be great. Like, I'm so stoked to do this.
All right. Matthew, do you need Bob to start the clock, or do you know who you want with the first pick?
Nope, I know exactly where I'm going with the first pick. I'm selecting Mr. Buchanan Barnes, Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier. I contemplated bucking the trend, but he's a valuable draft pick. He fits in my story, so I think it's got to happen. So Bucky comes from the 1940s in the first Captain America comic. Subsequently, he kind of fills the role of a foe turned ally as he came back in Ed Brubaker's run as the Winter Soldier.
Huh.
Interesting. I didn't think of him that way. I don't think in the last 3 drafts when I took him, I put him in that category, but I could see it.
Yep, it works. All right. Well, Rick, do you need a whole minute?
I don't, Bob.
Are you sure?
This character is so instrumental to my story that if someone had picked him, I would have been like, I'm done.
You're out of time.
Okay. I am going with, and this is going to blow your minds,
Okay.
none other than
Oh.
Patron Zilipo.
Oh, wee wee.
Oh, Nate, I see a little bit of anguish in your face. Was Batroc on your list?
Oh, I'm 2 down.
Are you serious? Oh no!
Going to be a painful night, folks.
Oh, wowzers. Yeah. I mean, like Batroc was very, 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 very key to my story. So
Check, please.
yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, Nate, you're on the clock having already 2 snipes. I'm really sorry to hear that.
All right. Well, no, that's fine. That's fine. We'll go with some substitutions here. Actually, I'll go with my initial not a substitution. We'll go for Baron Helmet Zemo in my villain category.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure on that.
Baron Helmet Zemo? You mean Heinrich Zemo?
No, I mean Helmet Zemo.
Are you sure?
Yep, from Captain America number 168 in 1973.
Ooh.
Okay. Okay. It's fine.
All right. Well, that's
I
unexpected.
can't be the only one who feels heartbreak here tonight, Rick. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
How critical is that, Rick? That's you're sounding
I think Rick,
concerned.
this is all stratagem by Rick.
No. He was critical. He was critical.
Oh.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay.
Bob, it's you. You need time for the clock, or are you good to go?
Nope. I think I'm good to go. I hate to have to do this. I do. This is not in my nature, but I feel it's essential to the story. So I'm going to go with Sharon Carter, who first appeared in Tales of Suspense, 75, March 1966.
Bob goes with the love interest.
I do.
All right, Bob.
I do. I'm not excited about that category. I just feel it's so conventional. But here we are. So, you know, why do we have to have a love interest? Aren't we enough?
Yeah.
I don't know. Ask every single writer out there if it's important to a story at some point.
All right. Well, we're back around, I think.
Yeah, that was round one. Went pretty quick. Bob,
did.
who's your first pick in round two?
Ooh, my first pick in round two would be none other than Johann Fennoff, Dr. Faustus.
Oh, how about that?
He is my villain.
I like a Dr. Faustus. You know that.
I know. We talked about this recently.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely Dr. Faustus.
And he's representing what?
He's my villain.
But what year?
Well, he's not representing a year. So he's also from the 60s. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got your 60s covered.
I got my 60s covered, and I got my villain covered.
All right, Nate, I think you're on the clock.
Right. Well, a good primary villain also needs some good muscle, and what can I say? I'm a little bit attached to this one. We're gonna go ahead and pick Crossbones on my roster.
Nice.
Ugh.
Crossbones, I guess he's also under your villain.
Yeah, representing the 80s, 1989, Captain America number 359.
Like it.
All right. Pivot.
Oh no.
It's
I'm
okay.
just wondering, can we trade picks after they're made? I mean, like,
Why not?
Huh?
No, Kamish, can we? What's up here?
I mean, they do it in fantasy football, so I don't see why we shouldn't be able to do that.
What if we do like at the intermission, like that fourth round? Then you can make exchanges, but only at that point.
All right. There's a lot of
All
talk, and I'm having anxiety here.
Oh, okay. Oh, is it my turn?
I think so.
Well, Bob.
Yeah.
I am so shocked that this character is still available. In
Mike Duffy.
pick
Doggone
7.
it. Yeah.
I'm going with no other than Rachel Diamondback. She is
Hearts are pitter-patting all over the UK.
Yeah, so not only is she my love interest, but she is also my foe turned ally.
Nice.
So she's a
You're
double duty
dipping.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's in the 80s.
Okay.
So
All right.
I now have 60s and 80s covered.
All right.
I don't know that I like going first.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, you were like, Rick's had been first the last few times, but you go first and then 8th, and like a lot of good characters get picked in between.
Oi. Okay.
Did you want Diamondback?
Yeah, that was on my list.
You're stalling. You're stalling.
Sorry. Okay, so
you're on the clock
for round number 8.
Pick number 8.
I'm going to draft. That one's going to go. Nick Fury.
Wait a minute. Senior or junior?
Ooh.
Well, I got to go with original recipe. I'm going to go with senior.
Your finger licking
Let's
good.
put the kibosh on Fury Files because I love those.
Fury Files. There you go.
Now is he? I guess he's just going underneath ally,
Yep, we're putting him under ally.
and he represents what year?
I believe he was in the 1960s, first appearing in Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos.
Correctamundo.
Nice.
So then it's me again, huh?
It is, yes.
Oh man. Okay. Okay.
Welcome back. You're back
Yeah,
on the
we're
clock.
now
Welcome back.
we're now starting round 3. So here's pick 1 in round 3, which is the 9th pick overall.
Okay. Since former lovers or lovers are evaporating so quickly, for my draft pick for seat number 9, I'm going to draft Bernie Rosenthal.
Nice.
First appearing in Captain America comic number 247, and she will be 1980s era.
Okay, so you now have 40s, 60s, and 80s. You're doing okay there. All right, so I am on the clock, and I'm going to go with somebody who not necessarily pivotal to the story. More of a nice to have. But it is pivotal to my getting my 5 decades. So I'm going to go with Margaret Peggy Carter.
Ooh.
So she is representing the 40s. And yeah. Yeah, so I now have 40s, 60s, and 80s.
Is that confirmed?
Yes, World War II. Remember,
Uh-huh.
it is not when they were introduced in the comics, it's where they were introduced in the timeline. So example, I'll give you an example.
All right.
We
Where
have
was she
said
retconned?
we have said Jack Monroe
Okay.
was a 50s
Okay.
character,
All
right?
right.
He was
All right.
introduced in the 70s in real
Uh-huh.
time,
Mm.
but he was supposed to be, and that was how we've done this every single time
I
we've
don't
done this, Bob.
I don't think it has. I don't think we've taken a story written in the 90s that is a World War II story and said that was the 40s. We've taken a story that was written in the 50s with a character that's been retconned to say that that character in the 1950s is now thought of as Jack Monroe. But there was no stories written in the 40s that featured any character, unless you're talking about Agent R.
No. I mean, listen, like I don't know. We did Spitfire. Spitfire was end up being a 40s character.
All right. Well, I'll certainly bow to that. I think that's new to me. I think the first appearance is the book that she or he was in, and when that book was published, regardless of where the story was. But all right,
All right.
I'm
Hold
okay
on.
with that.
Hold on. I don't want to
I mean, I think there's some wiggle room here, right? Because it's very ambiguous about who that person was at the curio shop.
Well, it wasn't. Cap knew her in World War II as that girl,
Madame
right?
Moselle,
So
right?
so she existed in World War II, and Cap knew her in World War II. So I'm going to get back to the rules that I had said,
Yeah.
and it says while representing at least 5 different decades, this is when that character was introduced in story time, not actual time.
So are you telling me that, for example, not that I can't recall if he ever appeared in a Captain America story, but maybe he did. Vance Astro would be from 2500 and not from when he first appeared in the comics.
Correct.
All right, that's a wrinkle that is new to the draft.
It's not.
It is. It is new.
It is not new.
It is.
Could throw in some of my plans, and it could not. It all depends here.
All right,
Jack
I'm willing to go with it.
We go back to Jack Monroe.
Right.
Jack Monroe was introduced in Captain America comics in the 70s. He's not. We don't represent him as 70s. He was originally was retcon, but that doesn't matter. He was retcon. It was originally the story was supposed to be in the 50s because that's everything refers back to when he was in the 50s.
But I would say the retcon does matter. It is instrumental in now identifying, just like Jeff Mace. Yeah, now Jeff Mace is a special case because not only was he in the 40s comics, right, but
He would be a 40s character.
well, because he was in the 40s comics, but there's no Peggy
Then I don't
Carter
understand
in
your
any.
point of bringing him up.
Well, I'm just saying it's a special case because he fits both categories. He wasn't Captain America in the 40s until he was retconned in the 40s. So now, if we were to say,
Yeah,
when
but
was the
we're not
first
talking
appearance?
Captain America. We're saying Jeff Mace.
Yeah, as Captain America, he was Captain America. Do you recall that?
I don't do this.
I'm just saying, this is how we've done it in the past. I mean, if this is what we're doing, that's okay.
Oh my God.
I just want to be clear.
Maybe you need to re-listen to some of these episodes before you come on
well,
here.
We'll let the listeners decide.
No.
Hey, this is a great time to ask the question. Hey guys, do you really like it when mom and dad fight?
All right. Well, let's. I think we're over a minute. So you're going with Peggy Carter. Is that what I understand?
So, you know, there's a reason people sell tickets to football games and not to jury trials.
Nate, who's your pick?
Well,
you had some time.
Yeah, it's awesome because we're gonna argue over this apparently.
Hopefully they gave you some time to think.
So for my fourth round pick, I'm actually gonna go for another villain. You'd be surprised, but this one, I'm not sure if he's going to represent the 60s because he showed up first in Strange Tales 111, 1963, or if he's going to represent the 40s because he was part of this story in Captain America, the Ghost Army.
Nice.
But I'm going to go with Baron Carl Morden.
Didn't see that coming.
Did not. Excellent character choice, though.
I'm going to say, Nate, you're pulling a Bob here. You probably could have waited to the last pick of the draft to go with Baron Mordo. I don't think anybody was going to snipe him for you.
Well, it's tempting now, though. I might want to trade.
The characters I wanted that could have been sniped have largely been sniped. So now I'm down to my nitty gritty and my substitutions here.
Well, I like the way that you've kicked the can on the key ones, though, toward the very end.
So I guess we're going to open this up for debate, right? Where does Baron Mordo come from? That's a good question.
Honestly, if you put him in the 60s, he covers a decade for me. If you put him in the 40s, he covers a decade for me. Whichever one is going to work to my favor at this point.
I don't know. Thoughts, guys?
So my argument or thrust would be he's a 1960s character. That's when he first showed up in Strange Tales in issue 111. I think that's where I would put him.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah. I lean that way as well. It's like saying Wolverine, right? Like Wolverine, Bob had Wolverine in the last one as from the 70s because that's what was introduced. But eventually stories come up that Wolverine was in World War One, he was in World War Two, and stuff like that.
But then does that, not to play devil's advocate, but then does that not argument also apply to Peggy Carter?
No, Peggy Carter, I don't know. I don't think Peggy Carter was introduced as a character of the 60s. It was a character that Cap knew in the 40s. Baron Mordo wasn't introduced as a character that Doctor Strange knew from decades previous. It was a character that was a villain to Doctor Strange of that time period.
So where your technicality on this rule lies then is basically in the origin story, the introduction of said character.
To Captain America.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, Jack Monroe was introduced to Captain America in the 50s, right? Peggy Carter was introduced to Captain America in the 40s.
But by that same token then, and like I said, this works for me either way, but by that same token then, Captain America meets Baron Mordo in the 1940s. Based on Captain America, the Ghost Army.
And Wolverine.
Yeah.
So, Bob, then your Wolverine from the 70s and the last one should have been something else?
Perhaps, if that's what the rules were.
However, if I may put this out there, you're the commission. You can cut me off or whenever you want, obviously. But is it kind of nice to have that little bit of ambiguity where maybe you could say this character represents the 60s or this character represents the 40s
I mean,
when
it'd
you
be
need
nice to
something
make
for the
things
draft?
easier, but again, part of the drama of this draft is struggling to find to represent five different decades. And if we all of a sudden made that a whole lot easier, then that drama's gone.
That is also true.
All right, Baron Mordo. I think the consensus was 60s, and again, we didn't see that coming. Bob, you're on the clock.
Well, I don't need any time because I have to go with a core character in my story. And that, of course, is going to be William Burnside, the Cap of the 1950s, who first appeared, by the way, in Young Men 24, December 1953, thanks to Steve Englehart's retcon. So critical to my story. So thank you, everybody, for not selecting him, because that would have completely jettisoned the whole project for me.
And I can't believe you didn't take him first then.
I know. It was an anxiety-inducing moment or two for me.
All right, so Bob, you have.
Oh, and by the way, he's my foe turned ally, thanks to Captain America Annual number 13.
Was he an ally in that?
He did turn ally. The four of them worked together, Naslin, Mace, and Burnside, to overcome Adam 2.
And so he represents the 50s?
He does.
Okay. All right. That closes out round 3. Bob, you're on the clock to first pick in round 4.
I think I'm going to go with tough. This is tough. I'm going to go with Deidre Wentworth, Superior, from Captain America 387, with a cover date of July 1991, Ames Minister of Education.
Superior. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
a deep dive.
That's a totally deep dive. Yeah. So, and that's the 90s.
That's the 90s.
Okay. All right. That's a first, I think, in our draft program to have her drafted. Wow. Nicely done. All right, Nate, you're on the clock.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go for my current or former love interest, which also checks off the foe turned ally category, and I'm going to go for the Scarlet Witch.
Interesting. Okay. All right. That's
Harking back to some of those early Avengers issues with the Kooky Quartet and that Christopher Priest Captain America and the Falcon series.
So this is love interest and foe turned ally.
Yeah.
A way
not necessarily the first, or maybe not necessarily the last of either of those, quite frankly.
Okay. Well, I feel like a mystical story coming on here with Baron Mordo and Scarlet Witch.
Be a good guess.
Okay. All right. Very nice. All right. I'm on the clock, and I think this is time to take this character, and that is my civilian. You know him, you love him, and that is Edwin Jarvis.
Oh, would have been the second guess.
Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah. First time for me drafting Jarvis, but he's got a role. He's got a role to play in this, and I think Bob will appreciate it.
All right, I like that.
All
That's
right,
like a good Jarvis supporting character, right?
Exactly. All right, Matthew, what do you got?
All right. Well, now that I've got these back-to-back picks again, for draft 16, there may be some rules discussion. If I mess this up, I'll pivot quickly. I'm going way back when to issue 139 of Captain America, when Cap is becoming a police officer. He has a crusty old sergeant who is is
Hmm.
training the recruits named Sergeant Muldoon.
Oh yeah, Sergeant
Yeah, Sergeant
Muldoon.
Muldoon.
Woo!
Now the question comes, does he count as a civilian?
Ooh, is he still on the duty? Is he still on the force? Because he was
In
kicked
this
off the
story,
force, wasn't he?
yeah.
I mean, eventually, I mean, yeah.
In your story, is he still a sergeant or is he no longer on the force?
In my story, he's no longer on the force.
And I would say he could be a civilian. What do you guys
All
think?
right.
I would agree
I,
with that.
I'm comfortable. I do recall. I thought he left the force. He retired. My memory's hazy at this age, but I think he was definitely off the force at some point. So
Yeah, you
yeah,
could call it retiring.
The sliding time scale persists.
right. All right.
And I believe he was in the 70s, or I have him in the 60s.
Well, you need to figure that out, man.
Yeah, let's figure that out. We'll come back to that.
Oh, we will.
Well,
You're on
we
the
can do it
clock, my
now.
friend.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Now I
Yeah,
got to figure out when.
you got 20 seconds to figure
39
this
came
out.
out.
So let those
I
fingers do
got
the
it.
walking.
I got it. I got to Google. It was
10 seconds.
1971. Let's take the 70s.
All right.
All
There you
right.
go. Is that cover date? Oh,
Whew.
okay.
All right. Sergeant Muldoon.
All right, so that would be the 70s. All right, we will take a little break here at halftime, and then we'll come back with a recap.
Oh, the back to back is. Yeah.
You know, the thing with doing keeping track of all this stuff and writing everything down, I don't have time during my non-pick time to like come up with like um, pivots. That's
Mm.
what sucks.
I knew there were characters that were going to go fast. I just didn't know if I could get to number 8 or not.
Yeah, when we were talking and before we even started this thing, I knew I was gonna have to make a hard pivot the moment you were gonna pick Bucky. You made that very clear before we even started.
It's what's interesting is we always want to pick that character first for the draft. But when you look at a lot of writers that are writing currently for Cap, either editorials telling them not to or they're choosing not to use him.
Mm.
You know, here's the funny thing about it is like this is the only like I had a couple story ideas. This was the only one where he was like kind of pivotal to it. And it's also weird because I prefer that character dead. Like just I prefer it that way. Like I feel like he has more impact that way. Not to say that I don't like Brubaker's run or anything, but yeah, I don't know. Once it was all said and done, I kind of prefer Bucky just not being there and being like this loss that Steve doesn't go back to constantly anymore, but one that's there in the back of his mind. Like,
Right,
it's
right.
more impactful.
He's sort of healed from that and acceptance.
Don't let Ash hear you.
You know, I am recording.
Uh-oh.
All right, we are back after halftime, and we're going to do a halftime recap. And we're going to look at on the left-hand side here, we have how the picks have unfolded. And as you can see here, we have these first round, second round, third, and fourth, and how that goes back. Also, the picks are, you can see down below. So we have this color coded, and you can see the picks that people are doing, but you can see it how it works with the snake, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it snakes down here 5, 6, 7, 8, and down here. So you can see how it unfolded that direction. And then I have it broken down by category and by decade. So we have going with the first pick in the Captain America comic book fantasy draft number 4, Bucky Barnes for the fourth one in a row is the number 1 pick. Except this time it wasn't me picking him, it was Matthew. I had the shocker of the day by picking with the second pick Batroc the Leaper. I mean, he didn't even make it into our last draft, but here he is somehow getting to the second pick in the draft. Nate goes in snipes Baron Helmet Zemo from me. Bob follows with his love interest, Sharon Carter. Follow that, Bob circles back with Dr. Faustus. Nate, doing his best impersonation possible, has Crossbones. And then I somehow got Diamondback with the seventh pick in the draft, which if Tom Boyd was here, he would be insulted. Then we have Nick Fury Sr. Finishing out round two, much to Bob's chagrin. Matthew then circles around and gets his love interest, which is Bernie Rosenthal. Seeing that we're running out, right? Sharon Carter, Diamondback's gone. He figured he needed to get his love interest, so he pulls Bernie Rosenthal. And then I come back with Peggy Carter, thinking that, you know what, love interests are really gonna be going. I need to get Peggy Carter now before someone else does. And then what? Baron Mordo? Yes, Baron Mordo made it into the draft, high up actually in the third round, and then followed by Bob with William Burnside, aka the Captain America from the 50s. And I'm going to take a guess here. Bob likes a redemption story. Then Bob follows up with another pick of this one's Superior. Again, where did that come from? That's a deep cut right there. And then another surprise from Nate. You thought he surprised us with Baron Mordo. He surprised us with Scarlet Witch as not only the love interest, but a foe turned ally. And if you don't believe she's a love interest, then you should check out our top 10 Captain America love interest episode.
And spoiler alert, it's going to get worse from here.
I get my civilian with the most beloved civilian of them all, Edwin Jarvis. And then Matthew pulls Sergeant Muldoon, which again, I'm thinking he could have gotten in the eighth round, but you never know. It could be a sleeper. So that is our halftime recap of the picks. Matthew represents all of his categories, but he needs a villain. He needs a villain. So he's got to pick that. He has 4 different decades. So he's sitting pretty good there. He's got 40s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Me, I have all my categories. I have every category represented. And I have 3 decades represented, 40s, 60s, and 80s. And then Nate, he's got 3 categories. He needs a civilian and he needs 2 more decades. He's got 60s, 70s, and 80s represented. And Bob needs, he's hurting the most here. He needs a civilian and, oh no, I take that back. I was looking at allies. All right. Bob needs a civilian. So he only needs 1 more category, but he is representing 3 decades, 50s, 60s, and 90s. So he, like Nate, needs 2 more decades. All right, guys. Anybody interested in trading any of their picks so far?
What would you take from Muldoon?
What you got?
You know, I was actually thinking of trading, making an offer for Baron Helmet Zemo, but I decided I'm just going to rewrite that part of the story.
Hopefully, there's another Zemo out there of the 13 of them that will work for you.
Never know. Could be I could get Mrs. Zemo, right?
I like her. It's a very important love interest, but very often overlooked.
All right, we're going to kick off round 5. Matthew, you're on the clock. Who is the first pick in the 5th round?
That's going to go to Madam Hydra or Viper.
Oh, you know I'm a fan.
I'm hoping a lot of other people are too.
Yeah.
So first appeared in Captain America number 110. She's been called Madam Hydra. She's been called Viper. She's one of those no good nicks that keep showing up like a bad penny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I started doing I don't do a lot of commissions, but I decided to start doing like Madam Hydra, but only from like artists that are known for drawing beautiful women. So last year, and this is where I met Nate, I got at the Baltimore Comic Con, I got Frank Cho to do an amazing bust of Viper. And then this past January, I picked up at OAX in Florida Adam Hughes. Can we see this? We
Mm.
can't see this. Mm. Oh well. I'll just post it up. But I got this Adam Hughes one. So I who do you think's the next artist I should get?
Well, you could always go with J. Scott Campbell because
Mm,
he does
Good
that
idea. Yeah.
he does definitely do
That's
attractive
the way it
women.
is. Yeah.
If it was me, I would probably go with Stanley Artgerm.
I'm not
That's
familiar.
great.
Stanley
Oh,
Archer. Oh
I
my gosh. Yeah.
I do like some Artgerm covers.
Oh my gosh. I have a few of his covers, not at all cap related.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Rick, if you don't mind me asking, what made you decide to go with Viper instead of Diamondback?
Great question.
Diamondback.
That's a great question. Uh, who's to say that it's someday I may not go back to all these artists and say, okay, now let's do Diamondback. Might be. Yeah.
I was disappointed that she kind of got cut out of Brave New World.
Well, I kind of was disappointed, but I was kind of relieved because if you're not going to do it right, don't do it at all.
Bingo. Yep.
Yeah.
100% right there. Yeah. Save her for later. Keep that in advance.
All right. I guess I'm on the clock, and I'm now going to finish out my my decades. I have 40s, 60s. Actually, no. I need two more. Uh-oh. All right. Well, I'm gonna go and pick a little Kathy Webster. That would be
Ooh,
Free Spirit. So she is an ally who represents the 90s.
good choice. Good choice. Haven't seen her around. Did she come up last time? Was that
I
American
I
Dream?
picked her in the second one
Okay.
when I did my
Yeah.
my whole bunch of Captain America sidekicks kind of story.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Which but by the way, got voted top story.
Okay.
Yeah, people liked it.
Yep.
Nate, you're on the clock.
At this point, I think I'm pretty safe to pick whoever I have left. Um, but I'm gonna go for what the heart wants here and go for my second favorite Marvel character. And let's get on lockdown. Dr. Stephen Strange.
Mm.
He'll be an ally. First appearance in Strange Tales 110, 1963.
All right. If I didn't say it before, I'm saying it again. And that is it's got a little mystic slant to this story here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See what's going to happen. I
Interesting.
can't wait to hear the
Abracadabra.
pitch.
Oh, they're just all going to be waiting in line at H&R Block. That's it. Everybody needs to get their taxes done.
Now, I just want to point out, though, Nate, you have 3 picks left and you need 2 more decades.
I am fully aware.
Okay. All right.
I appreciate the reminder.
Like your style.
I'm here to help.
Yeah.
All right, Bob. You have the last pick of the fifth round.
Yeah. Well, it'd be crazy not to pick Jack Monroe from Young Men 24, December 1953, to go with William Burnside. So I'm plugging him in.
All right. And is he?
Nope.
I'll just put him underneath Ally.
Yeah, he's just out there doing his own thing.
All right. All right. I like a Jack Monroe. We all know that.
I know you do. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Bob, you're kicking off the next round. Who's your first pick in round 6?
All right. This is where it gets a little tough for me, but I think I'm going to have to go with Edmund Heidler. Remember Edmund Heidler, Rick?
I don't.
You don't remember Edmund Heidler. So Edmund Heidler was a clone of the hate monger that we saw very briefly in Captain America number 616 from May 2011. And he was in his apartment and he didn't realize who he was. And they allowed him to live because he hadn't yet figured out who he was. So he's got sort of an important role in this story. So I'm going with Edmund Heidler.
And he represents the 2010s.
He represents the 2010s.
All right, Bob. I'm going to tell you right now. Didn't see that coming.
You didn't you?
Nope.
Yeah.
Not even a little bit.
Right. Right.
Yeah. All right, Nate. Who do you got?
All right, well, let's get another ally for Cap and double down on this theme we've got going here. This one will represent the 2000s, first appearing in Young Avengers #1, and we'll go for Billy Kaplan, Wiccan.
Whoa.
Okay.
All right.
What Cap story did he appear in?
So, the first Captain America comic he was in was Fallen Sun, The Death of Captain America #5 in 2007. Or if that
Excellent.
doesn't work, he was also in Siege Captain America #1 in 2010.
Nice. Nicely done with the research.
Nate was just like, somebody asked me. Somebody asked me. You know what? I think Nate just found a huge loophole by just like going with Fallen Sun, like the funeral issue, right?
Mhm.
Like there's gonna be like dozens and dozens and dozens of characters. Like, nah, there you go.
Honestly, it wasn't even the first one I saw. The first one I saw was the Siege tie-in, and then I realized there was one before it, which was Fallen Sun. But yeah, that is an amazing loophole.
Yeah.
Nicely
All
done.
right.
Nicely
Good
done.
to know. All right. My turn. And I'm gonna go with I have all my categories represented. Um, I just need another decade. All right. I got 40s, 60s, 80s, 90s. I'm going to go with Klaus Voorhees,
Oh,
a.k.a.
there goes my plot.
Cobra.
Nice.
Now, he is from the 60s, so I don't exactly need another character from the 60s, and I don't exactly need another villain, but um, it is he has a little bit to say in our story.
Interesting.
Matthew, you're on the clock.
All right. So looking at my lineup, I know kind of which direction I need to go. But I think that Cap needs a little bit more backup in my story. So with draft pick number 24, I'm taking Sam Wilson.
Sam
Doggone it.
Wilson. Yeah. I gotta say, he always gets drafted so late. There needs to be some more Sam Wilson love in this.
Mhm.
In this,
It was on my list of options for my next pick, Matthew. So
Captain America 117.
Matthew, you are representing 40s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You need one more decade. You have 2 picks left.
Well, it's a good thing that for pick number 25, I'm going to take Ian Rogers, the son of Captain America, in from the Rick Remender run, which gives me the 2010s.
We're Ian fans here. In fact, I think we've already proven that Bob voted for him in the bracket.
such an interesting character, right? So much more potential to explore.
Ian does something unique that most characters don't do, and that's he kind of makes Cap's judgment a little questionable at times.
Mm-hmm. He does have
Kind
that
of
effect.
unique.
Yeah. Rick, are you up next?
Yes, I am.
You're on the clock.
Okay. I'm going to pick. I need to get another decade, and I need to. What is this? I'm trying to remember what this guy's. Here he is. I'm trying to get his name, his civilian name, and that is. Okay. But that's just going to give it away. Anyway, Maximilian Zoran.
Okay.
Ooh.
Zoran.
Zoran.
Yes. You may know him from being part of Batroc's brigade.
Oh.
He was first introduced in Masters of Kung Fu 76 back in 1979. So he represents the 70s for me.
I think
Interesting choice.
you're on the clock, Nate.
All right. Well, uh, you know what? I'm gonna actually go for a decade that I already have represented, and for another foe turned ally. Since Bucky went in the first round, I'm gonna pick a different character to substitute for him and do a little bit more of a different emotional beat with another one of my characters and go for Quicksilver. First appearance
Interesting.
in number
Nice.
4 in 1964.
Quicksilver.
Pietro.
Well, I truly didn't see that coming.
And neither did he.
Oh.
Oh, nicely done. Nicely done.
All right. So, and he is, and you still need a civilian, Nate.
I do, yes.
Okay. All right.
And I still need one more decade.
I hope to God this person that you've been holding out for is there for you at the end.
Oh, me too. Somehow I feel like I'm safe though.
Bob, you've been on the clock for a while now. You ready?
Oh, I'm ready. I am
All right.
ready.
Let's hear it.
You're not going to believe this one, but I'm going with Katie Burns. Anybody
dang
really
it.
guess where Katie Burns came from? Katie Burns was the CBS News reporter that was at the National Force rally that was featured in Captain America 233 back in the summer of 1979. And she's the one that pulled Cap aside to show him the video of Sharon Carter being incinerated. So she represents the 1970s and she is my civilian.
Wow. Man, this is like the draft of deep cuts. No one knows who Katie Burns is. No one. No one.
No,
It gets hard with the civilians.
Gotta tell you. Wow.
it does. You gotta be a little creative with the civilians, right? Because we've got sort of an expansive definition there, and so like you know, it's
All
either
right,
that or
Bob.
Ram,
Yeah, right.
right?
All right, Bob. So you have all your decades covered. You have all your categories covered. This is just a luxury pick now, Bob. Who you picking with your
Come
last pick
on.
of the draft?
Come on, Rick.
Sergeant Duffy?
Who do you think I'm picking?
That's Sergeant Duffy. It's got to be Sergeant Duffy.
It's not. It's Betsy Ross.
Oh, well, all right. Makes sense.
From the 1940s, Captain America comics, #1. But she's got a history with William Burnside as well. So, hey,
Now, is she underneath a love interest or is
she's
she
not.
underneath? Okay.
I'm just using her as an extra character.
All right. We're down to the last 3 picks of the draft. Nate, who do you got?
Man, Bob, I don't know how my story is going to function without Kathy Burns, man.
Oh, deal with it. It's Katie, by the way.
Yeah, I'm okay. No, we're still good. So, for my civilian, I am going to pick Sophia Maximoff from Captain America: The Ghost Army.
Oh,
If
you're
you wanna
really
put her under the 1940s or under the 2020s. That is entirely up to you, Rick.
all right. All right. Wow, that's you're really plumbing the Ghost Army.
I say it might have been my favorite Cap story that I've read in the past 2 years, honestly.
It was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good. It was yeah. Fun's a good word for it. All right, Sophia Maximoff. Wowzers! This is. I can't wait to hear the pitch. All right. I need to. I'm pivoting here. Might as well finish out the Batroc's brigade with none other than Ferdinand Lopez, aka Machete.
Nice.
Isn't it pronounced machete?
Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, go with that. That's fine.
Excellent. All right. This is wrapping up. This is sounding like it would be an interesting story here.
Well, we all know that John Sewell will love it. I've guaranteed one vote.
One vote. Yes. Good old reliable, Mr. Reliable.
All right, Matthew, you close us out with the honor of Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick of the draft. Who's it going to be?
Oh, if we're picking Mr. Irrelevant, this one's for you, Grant. We're taking the Tumblr.
Oh no.
Once again, someone trying, he's just buying votes.
Yeah. Is this Tumblr 1 or Tumblr 2?
Which one's the most pathetic? Tumblr 1, right?
Good point. Yeah.
Well, I think the first one, because the brother doing the revenge thing, that has a little interest into it.
Mm-hmm.
Wowzers. All right. So many cool characters that weren't picked. Still on the draft board. So many interesting, cool characters not picked. But I love the deep dives. Absolutely love the deep dives. So let's get into the pitch portion of this. We all get 4 minutes to make their pitch on how their characters are going to formulate their story. And what we've been doing is going with the last pick and going to number 1. So Bob, you go first with your 4-minute pitch, and I'll time you.
All right. Well, here we go. So this sort of came up in a discussion we had recently when we did podcast episode number 2007, which I think you remember was Captain America number 19 from volume 6.
I'm just going to tell you right now, Bob, sorry. We have not done over 2,000 podcasts.
I'm sorry, 207. Yeah. We're getting there though, Rick.
It just feels like it.
I have all the confidence in you. All right. So this story takes place between the end of the Two Americas story arc that concluded with Captain America 605, but before the events of that issue of Captain America 19, volume 6, which we reviewed in podcast number 207. So the story begins in the closing moments of that Two Americas arc. And we see Captain America. Oh, no, it's William Burnside dressed as Captain America, shot off the Hoover Dam following a beatdown by Bucky, although Bucky's not seen in this comic. And we see Burnside's body recovered from the Colorado River below and spirited away by shadowy figures. And it's Burnside's voice that we hear narrating this story. But he's actually talking about Katie Burns, who is an investigative reporter for CBS News. He tells us that he learned that she'd been investigating the shadowy activities of Dr. Faustus for years, and that she witnessed the National Force demonstration that we saw in Captain America 233. And as I discussed earlier, and Burnside recounts that she couldn't let the story go. So she subsequently infiltrated AIM to continue her investigative reporting. And she eventually stumbles upon William Burnside, who's been imprisoned, and he's being subjected to this psycho reconditioning by Dr. Faustus in Superior, trying to break his resistance to mind control on behalf of the new hate monger, Edmund Heidler, who realizes who he is. So in this period of mental torture, Burnside goes back in time in his memory, and he relives every experience that he's ever had with Steve Rogers, going all the way back to what we saw in the 1950s Cap story by Englehart, going back to the Grand Director story. And in both of these stories, Sharon plays a big role because he sees how much Steve loves Sharon and how much Sharon loves Steve, and it really bothers him. And then he goes even further back to the 1950s. And we see his time at Lee Academy with Jack Monroe and how he studied to try to become Captain America and to replace Steve Rogers, but how obsessive he became. And he realizes that he put Jack Monroe in a lot of danger and stole his childhood, eventually leading to his death. And then we go back to his teenage years and we see how much he worshiped Captain America, how much he wanted to be like Steve Rogers. And eventually he realizes that he let himself down, he let his country down, and he let Steve Rogers down. So Katie Burns manages to break him out, but in the process, she's killed. But he manages to escape. And the next time we see him is that moment at the beginning of Captain America 19, where he's hit by that truck and ends up in the hospital bed. So where that takes us from there in terms of the William Burnside character, who knows? But I think he might be on the path to recovery and being a hero at last.
Absolutely love that, Bob. And you know what? I knew it was going to be a redemption story. And you have me at Dr. Faustus because I always feel like he is, just he gets into the psychological aspects, the twists and turns and things like that. So I like it. That's a fun story. I would totally read that.
I think what's interesting is we would see all those interactions, but from Burnside's perspective, right? How
like that.
how he sees what's going on, how those conflicts look to him through his sort of warped mind.
Yeah. And
do you think like a 4-part or just like an issue?
I think just like an issue, like a one shot. Yeah.
I deeply enjoy the idea of William Burnside getting redemption. We've seen a little bit of it here and there throughout the comics, but I enjoy having that deep dive to it. I think it's a great story.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Bob, who would be your creative team of choice?
Ooh, that's a good question. I've thought a lot about this. I don't know. In terms of writing, I don't know who I'd want to write this. I do think I'd like to see Carmen Canero draw it because I really enjoyed her art.
That was your pick last time.
I know. I just love her, and I haven't seen enough of her. I felt like she did a good run on Cap, but I would have liked to have seen more because I think there's room for a lot more growth in her, and so I'm sticking with her. But for writing, I don't know. I think I'd want to bring in somebody from the outside.
Like a novelist?
Yeah, like a novelist. I really like the, I told you, Stefan Petrov, I think, the Dark Designs.
What about David Morrell, right? He has experience with PSTD and
it's interesting. It's an interesting idea. Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting idea I hadn't considered, but you're right. The author of First Blood, the original Rambo book, and yeah, you're right. We had him on the show talking about how his work with Captain America was informed by that. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I think that's a great idea too. Yeah, I'd want to shake this up a little bit. I think it'd be a great sort of maybe big format one shot. I'd like to dive deep, obviously.
Well, we will put that on the Facebook group with the other 3 pitches, and you can cast your vote for Bob if that is your story of choice. Nate, it is now your turn to give your 4-minute pitch on your story, and I can't wait to hear the mysticism here.
Okay, let me see if I can fit this into 4 minutes. So we're going to open with Sophia Maximoff. She's now a retired chemist living in Brasov, Romania. She's the last of her line, as far as she knows. She's very alone. It's very sad. But she finds her home being invaded by Hydra agents, led by Crossbones, for reasons she does not know. But she just assumes that, based on certain things that she has at her village excuse me. Based on certain things that she has left over from her experiences in the war with the Ghost Army and whatnot, and from her village, that it's related. So even though she barely escapes when she does, she manages to get word through Avengers Priority to Steve Rogers, who's already actually in Europe having investigated Hydra activity. He tries to recruit Bucky Barnes, but unfortunately he doesn't answer the phone this time around. And they end up returning to Transia and reuniting with Sophia.
All right. By the way, I'm pausing this right. The time, so you're not. I'm not cutting into your time,
Okay.
but I saw Bob's face light up when you said he tried to recruit Bucky Barnes, but he wasn't available. I totally allow that because Bucky Barnes not appearing in your story.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's being mentioned, which is fine, but he's not appearing in your story.
Sir not appearing in this story.
What's that, Matthew?
Sir not appearing in this story.
Oh, nice little Monty Python reference. Love it.
That's going to have some mixed feelings for Sophia. She obviously had a bit of a connection with Bucky when they first met, but it's also kind of a what might have been scenario, and letting sleeping dogs lie. Um, so I have the Red Skull currently being dead, so Helmut Zemo is leading Hydra. He's enlisted Baron Mordo to try to once again raise a ghost army, as he's familiar with the situation based on files and whatnot that he's encountered. This time, Mordo promises that he does not need to rely on machines because his own power has advanced throughout the years, and he can actually raise a more powerful army via ancient rituals and powerful artifacts. This army is called the Shadow Legion. And these, unlike the previous ones, they maintain tactical intelligence and combat discipline, making them much more dangerous, as well as a bit more physically hardy. Of course, Mordo will do what Mordo will do. He's actually once again a thrall of Dormammu, and he intends to, once he summons this Shadow Legion, put those right into Dormammu's hands and basically take over the dimension. His manipulation of mystic arts requires great power, which of course is going to tip off Doctor Strange, who monitors these things through the Orb of Agamotto. Um, Due to the proximity of Wundagore Mountain, Doctor Strange makes a house call to the Scarlet Witch, which he does so at a bad time because she is currently visiting with her son, Wiccan, and her brother, Quicksilver. Um, they travel, they end up running into Captain Sophia while Mordo is completing this ritual and the Shadow Legion rises. Mordo just goes to finish the ritual to give Dormammu power when he is betrayed by Zemo, who has one of the things that was going on was Zemo was sending out Crossbone and Hydra to actually collect elements that he could use to put counter runes into the area where the spell was being performed, so he could therefore take over and force Mordo out. Not only does he do that, he weakens Mordo. So basically now Mordo's more or less out of the picture. Uh, and he declares himself the true master of the Shadow Legion. He's more or less a Lich King at this point, which I dig as a Dungeons and Dragons guy. The Shadow Legion is going to overwhelm our heroes and hope's going to fade. Wanda and Wiccan are struggling against the dark forces. Quicksilver is doing his best to, uh, you know, run recon and keep everybody where they need to be, but it's very much a losing battle. When finally it's decided they need to make a Hail Mary play, and they empower Captain America, one with the Wand of Watum, because it can provide air currents that are fierce enough to actually kind of disperse the Shadow Legion, uh, much like they did in the Ghost Army with fans, but this one needs a little extra power. The Cloak of Levitation to give him a little bit more agility, and they enchant Cap's shield with the power of Sidorak, basically turning him almost into the Juggernaut. So now he can charge through this army and engage Zemo hand to hand. Yeah, in the final clash, he'll overwhelm Zemo. He'll break his control over the Shadow Legion. They'll dissolve into nothingness, and Strange One and Billy will purge the area of magic as best they can, which destroys some of these artifacts, ensuring that the Legion can never again be resurrected. Of course, Zemo will retreat and vow vengeance. Crossbones will decide that he needs a better employer and probably go seek out a way to resurrect Red Skull. And at the very end, they'll meet up with Sophia, who shares that she is overjoyed at this being taken care of, but at the same time, the name Maximoff does come up in conversation where she realizes that she is actually related to Pietro and Wanda and Wiccan, and therefore realizes that finally she's no longer alone. And yeah, that's
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Very, very sweet ending. I like your
Mhm.
ending on that.
oh,
I gotta say
it's
that.
important that she I look at this as an obvious sequel to the Ghost Army,
Mhm.
which I believe when you guys had Alan Gratz on the show, I had actually wrote in asking if there was ever any plans for this sequel. He said no. And I thought kind of that found family theme would be something that maybe might appeal to him as an author, because I would really like for him and Brent Schoonover to come back and actually do a book like this.
Obviously, you love the story, and this is like a love letter to that story. So I love the sequel. I do have a question for you.
Sure.
At this point, how old is Sophia?
So she'd be in her 90s.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have explored that little like what might have been thing with Bucky almost being like a ghost of her past type deal. But yeah, I mean, he's going to be in this awesome story I'm going to hear about in just a moment. So
You had me at counter runes. So cool story. Cool story. I love the mystical aspect. I love the follow on to the Ghost Army, which was, I thought, a lot of fun and for all ages, right? Because that's what it was written for. So, and it sounds like this could be as well, which I think is a plus. So, yeah, I'd love to see this done.
The Soldier Supreme.
I've never read anything with Soldier Supreme in it, and that's probably, I didn't read Infinity Warps. It's I'm sure it's surprising, but
Oh, it's good.
yeah. Thank you.
Well, Rick, lay it on.
Wait, we need to know who the artist and writer are going to be.
Oh, Alan Gratz and Brett Schoonover. I want them to come back. Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, it couldn't get more perfect than that. Okay, time for my pitch. All right. In Captain America 443, Mark Grunwald's final issue as writer of Captain America after 10 straight years, he ends with a tale of Steve's body giving out due to the super soldier serum, and he faces his last 24 hours. We covered this somber issue in episode 98, and you may recall Batroc pays a visit to the Avengers Mansion to implore Cap to take out the person who assassinated his friend, Machete. And after Steve tells Batroc he already stopped the assassin, he eventually reveals to Batroc he is dying. And as the comic says, they, quote, ended up talking for hours, end quote. But what do they talk about? And we find out in C'est la vie. So after Cap tells the holographic Peggy to release Batroc from the mechanical arms holding him in place, the two of them enter the mansion. And as the armored Cap and Batroc sit down in the Avengers library, Jarvis enters to serve them tea. And he gives Batroc a raised eyebrow. And then he looks at Cap and he gently smiles and he leaves the two men to talk. But Jarvis tells Peggy to monitor Batroc because he doesn't trust the lout. As Bob likes the stories between the stories, this special one-shot addresses some of the questions Steve had when trying to determine if Batroc could be completely rehabilitated from his past. Cap asks him, how could someone with a code, his code of ethics, seal Diamondback in Bloodstone's coffin and toss it into a deep pit on the other side of the world? Batroc explains it was for her own protection, as Machete attacked Rachel. If you recall, in the first part of the Bloodstone hunt, she was thrown in there and they nailed it shut. Well, guess what? If you also recall, Machete had a lot of intentions for Rachel and said it was a waste. So he crops open that and tries to attack Diamondback. If you recall, Diamondback, when she was rescued by Steve, she had a lot more rips on her costume. So she battles off Machete, but Batroc helps subdue her. And he also notices that a signal device that she had, and that felt like, okay, I need to keep her from Machete, and she'll be saved. And if it kept the great Captain America off their trail, that is just a bonus, no? And what about when Cap found him and the others tied to the dial on the Icon Temple? How did they get captured? Well, Batroc shares the story of Batroc and the others traveling to the Amazon to track down one of the missing Bloodstones. And they come in contact with the lost icons, and Machete negotiates safe passage to their temple to make a trade. While in the temple, Zoran gets caught attempting to steal some jewels, and they are all subjected to the Cuirassier darts without warning. Another question was, how could Batroc align with such an evil man, such as Mr. Hyde? Batroc answers by referring to the time he was beaten, but knew he could get out of jail after the Stranger fiasco, as seen in issues 149 and 150. Steve remembers Batroc saying, quote, in days, perhaps hours, I will be free again. And Batroc reveals his pact with Cobra, who owed him a favor after
10
saving him.
seconds.
Stop. After the Cobra, using his ability to manipulate his body, broke Batroc out of jail before he could be sent to the raft. Now, it was during this time that Cobra mentioned working with Hyde as a partner, which gave Batroc the confidence to partner with him in 251. And many more stories fill the gaps are shared. After Batroc leaves, Steve realizes he told Free Spirit he would return to Brooklyn headquarters at 10 p.m. for a vigil, but just didn't have the energy to go. So he calls her, and they chat for a brief time, and he says goodbye. As he turns to take the stairs wearily, he thinks of all the stories Batroc shared, and he contemplates if it really truly got through to him, or is Batroc just humoring him. And we cut to one final scene as Batroc gets home, takes off his mask, possibly for the last time. And he sits down to a glass of red wine, and he toasts Machete and then toasts Captain America, saying he will miss his fallen friend and his greatest foe, ending with C'est la vie.
Bravo.
Oh,
You're right. I love a story between the stories. So this one nails it for me. Very nicely done, Rick. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, as a huge Batroc fan, like that's incredible. I love that idea.
Thank you.
We would like to hear John Walter Sewell to voice this whole thing. Can we get that done? Can we put that date out, get that contract?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Maybe if I can work with Tom Boyd's art creative team and create a comic on it, we'll have John on the show to help voice it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well done. Well done. And so who's your artistic team?
Well, the writer's going to have to be Mark Grunwald,
Okay.
right? Because this was the story based on Mark Grunwald's last Captain America story, based on Mark Grunwald's the Bloodstone Hunt, and I would think having a guest artist come back to reprise his work on the Bloodstone Hunt, it would have to be Kieran Dwyer.
Oh, interesting. All right.
I like it. Thematically, it ties really well together, and it explores an interesting, kind of, a very sad issue like you referenced, but kind of fills it in, gives a little bit more breath to it. And I think there's a lot of opportunities for some really interesting scenes. So good fight scenes, good action, but also those quieter character development scenes. I think that would work really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of inspired because Bob and I talk about it all the time, right? The stories between the stories, and I always wondered, when Cap and Rachel show up at the temple, and there's all of them on the dial, how did they get there, right? Or why would Batroc allow Diamondback to just be thrown into a coffin in a pit? How did he know at the end of issue 150 that he will be out of jail in just a matter of hours? And then when I look at how Captain Roger Stern and John Burns 250 with Hyde and Batroc. So I explored all these stories and then tried to kind of fill in the gaps.
It's like, yeah, mister, I didn't have time to research my story.
Yeah, this was like all done in the last day and a half.
Yeah. We've talked recently, Rick and I have talked recently about some characters. Like we talked about Crossbones, for instance, but Batroc is another one of these characters where like I feel like they haven't done like enough character development. There's a lot of room. There's not been a lot, but there's a lot of room for a little more explanation about the internal side of these characters that we've seen their history, we've seen their origin, where they came from, the rough streets and all that sort of stuff. But like as a person, like what are these people like, right? What do they think? What are their thoughts like? And this is an example of how that can be done. We learn a lot more about this beloved character in a way that like makes the character a lot more exciting and interesting, I think, to readers.
Yeah. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing too, with the whole thing with Free Spirit, like I always thought that was kind of like if you remember in that issue, he's there with Free Spirit and Jack Flag in the headquarters. He's like, I'll be back at 10 o'clock for a vigil. and then he never goes back. So I thought he would at least give Free Spirit a call.
Got to tie up that loose end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, Matthew, it is time for your pitch. I can't wait to hear this because we have Bucky Barnes, again, the number one pick for the fourth draft in a row. To Nate's point, you better do him justice.
Uh-oh. All right. Well, I'm starting off my story. It's not so much a issue between issues, but it's starting off with something that I'd love to see superhero comics explore, which is the I don't want to do superhero stuff. I just want to relax. I just want to be a normal person for a minute. And so that's where we find our story. It starts off. Steve's out with his good friend, Sam Wilson, and his son has come over from the other dimension to hang out and spend some time with Pops. And they decide, you know what? Avengers got this covered. Fantastic Four got New York covered. We're going to go get some food. And they decide on street tacos. So as they're trying to find the best street taco cart in town in New York, they end up getting into a skirmish with some of those no good nicks that they observe getting up to trouble. After the fight, Cap and his crew find a shipping container full of people. And then these people end up, in the course of the story, disappearing. They don't know quite what happened to them. So therefore, Cap decides to investigate where these people went and why they were presumably being trafficked. His investigation is aided by a retired Sergeant Muldoon, who's kind of on the police scanners, kind of doing his own investigation group, but information gets back to him that the container came from Juarez, Mexico. So Cap wants to go investigate. However, because of political pressures, he can't go to Mexico. So he asks Bernie Rosenthal to investigate further. But in that process, oh, sorry, let me back up. So they find out where it went. And they find out there's some no good nicks going on. They don't know totally what's going on. Steve doesn't feel like he can go into Mexico, but the Winter Soldier has no problem crossing borders. So Steve asks Bucky to go investigate further. So in the course of doing so, he finds out that the trafficking is coming from some sicarios in the Juarez area. So as he does more investigating, he ends up getting captured by he's overwhelmed by this group of cartel sicarios. In that process, though, he was trying to free some of these civilians that had been taken captive. One of them gets away, and in the meantime, that civilian's able to get away. But one of the hostages, or one of these ones that does get away, excuse me, I said that 3 times, knows that Shield has been monitoring what the cartels are doing, and is able to clandestinely reach out to Nick Fury. So therefore, Cap and his friends have to go rescue Bucky and deal with these sicarios over in Juarez. But they're running out of time because the sicarios are now fighting about what they're going to do with Mr. Buchanan Barnes. Do they try to ransom him? Do they try to reverse his super soldier? Do they try to figure out how the arm works? Do they try to set him up as political bait? So each of the sicarios is going back and forth. They're fighting about it. And so therefore, the real mastermind has to come out from behind the curtain. The one overseeing all these operations is revealed to be Madame Hydra. She's been consolidating forces in Juarez and running these villains to build her criminal empire. But before they can decide what to do with their captive, Cap and crew arrive to save the day. But during the height of the fight, Cap must decide between taking down these leaders of the cartel and permanently dismantling the cartel, or to save some of the civilians that have been caught up in this fight. Cap thinks to himself that the sicarios and these cartels do so much more damage. In the grand scheme of things, take the utilitarian approach, it's better to go after the sicarios. However, his morals say you have to just protect the innocent. And so he does what heroes do, and he saves that group. So therefore, civilians saved, problems resolved. Madam Hydra gets away, shaking her fist, saying, "I'll get you next time." That leaves Sam Bucky and uh, Sam, Bucky, and Cap there in Mexico to have the most authentic street tacos they could find.
Fun.
I love it. I
Yeah, that's
love the
fun.
bookended tacos.
Can't go wrong with tacos. I I may have missed. Where's Tumblr?
Oh, the Tumblr. He was one of the Sicarios. He cashed it in. He's working with those guys. He's working under Madam Hydra,
Okay,
kind of as a liaison.
I missed that. Sorry.
I thought he was going to be like he cashed it in and he's running a taco stand.
Tumblr's Tacos.
That would be awesome.
Well, scratch that. So they find the best taco stand in town. It's Tumblr's Tacos. Filled with shame and regret from being bested by Cap, he fled to Mexico and devoted his life to becoming the best taco maker ever.
Excellent. Love it. Love it.
I really dig slice of life stories, so I really like this whole premise and everything. And I hate to be this guy though. What does it at all get addressed about Muldoon? Because if I remember, he was the Cloud Commander and tried to kill Captain America at one point.
He's had a change of heart. He's been retired too long, and
Okay.
he hates Cap, but he hates the cartels
Miracle.
more.
Ah, yes.
Absolute
Buy
sentiment.
that.
It's a triage.
Hatred is a powerful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I'm looking forward to when I'm retired so I can have a chance to reflect on all the people I hate.
That's right. Yeah. And tacos.
Yeah.
And tacos. Good.
Oh,
Excellent.
fun story. I like it. And listen, I think all of you put a lot of thought into these stories. And so kudos to you for the prep work that you did and the deep dives you took and bringing some characters. I think everybody brought some characters that were just haven't been heard of for a long time. And so it just goes to show that, you know, these types of things, you know, you can make a million different stories, and but at the heart of it, I think is the characterization, you know, and all that. So I think kudos to everybody here for a job well done.
Well said, Rick. Well said. Yeah, definitely an A for effort all the way around. And like you said, there's a deep bench of characters, a lot of obscure characters, but that just means the character has room for growth, right? A room for additional detail and use, and maybe a trajectory that we didn't see. So, it just takes a little bit of creativity and a little risk taking to make use of them.
Absolutely. All right, so take a look this weekend. We will have it up for a vote. So the guys here are going to do a recap of what each one of their characters. There's 3 lines for each character they're going to write, and then there's I think it was 300 character count for like a previews description. So the guys will give that. We'll put that up for view, and then everybody can vote on which story they would like to read the most.
And the discussion will be on. So I always look forward to the comments in the group, right? In the debate discussion. So it should be a lot of fun.
I think all 4 of our stories are different enough and in different time eras and different themes and vibes that we could get some pretty diverse thoughts and opinions.
Mm-hmm. Except from John. He'll go with Batron.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Grant will go with Street Taco Tumblr.
And Grant, don't be offended because I redeemed the Tumblr.
Okay. So we have a new portion of the show that we're introducing, and we're going to kick it off with this episode, and that is listeners get to send in a question. So we'll end the show with answering some listener questions. We did get a couple in the Facebook group, and I'm going to go ahead and start with this one from Mark Domeyer. And his question was, and he said, before Tom Boyd can ask this, who would win in a cage match battle, Diamondback or Madam Viper? Bob?
Oh, Madam Viper for sure. She fights dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Diamondback Rachel still has she has good in her, right? And I think that's always going to hold you back in a fight. I hate to say it, unless there's rules, right?
Mhm.
But when there's no rules and it's no holds barred, then somebody who doesn't have any scruples or ethics or morals or regard for human life will always take it to town, I think.
You know what else she has in her? Steve Rogers' super soldier serum.
Well, that's true. That's true. But, I don't know.
Viper could poison it out of her, right?
Could be. Yeah.
Make
That's
it
what
an
we're
even
calling.
fight.
All right. So Bob's vote is for Madam Hydra, and Nate and Matthew. You guys are here. You can answer. Who do you think? Cage match fight.
I got to go with the mean streak on Viper. I just, I, I, part of me keeps thinking back to that knockdown drag out fight that Diamondback had with Snapdragon, but I
Mhm.
just don't feel like the personal feeling is there that's going to overcome just Viper's general mean streak.
Matthew.
I'm going to give you the lawyer answer, which means it depends.
Yeah. As soon as you said that, I was like, it depends. Before you could say it, I was like, he's going to say that.
So, and it depends on who's writing the story. But I would say I think Diamondback, she's got the scrappiness in her,
Mm-hmm.
and I think she's got the grit to get through it. So it's all going to depend on that first 30 seconds of that cage fight. But I think Diamondback might be able to cinch it.
Mm-hmm. Uh, I think it's going to be really close. I think it'd be very, very close. But to Bob's credit, I do think Viper's going to be a little dirty
Killer
and do
instinct.
something that's going to take Diamondback unawares.
Mm.
Yeah. Ultimately, she'll win. Diamondback will ultimately win. So she'll wake up, she'll get her way out of whatever she's tied up with, and with some diamond thing, and she'll, ultimately win. But I think she has to. I think Viper's gonna do something underhanded.
That was a good question, Rick. It's priced 3-1, but you could have gone anyway. But I think well reasoned by everybody. So, do we got any other questions?
Yeah, Kyle Foster asks a question. He says, "Isn't Nomad a better name for Bucky than the Revolution?"
It's thought provoking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
I like this question because Bucky doesn't want to go by Bucky anymore. He's an adult. That's kind of his past.
Mm-hmm.
But he definitely the Winter Soldier because that's a chapter of his life that he wants to close and seek the redemption on.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want to be Captain America. He doesn't feel comfortable in the role. So bringing him back to the Winter Soldier is how we know him. That's how he's kind of existing in the current Marvel continuity. But making him the Revolution gives him a new focus, a new way to move forward. And revolutions have the potential to make change, which is what's kind of at the heart of his character at the moment, I think, which is making changes in his life, becoming a new person, becoming more like Steve. And so I think Revolution beats out Nomad because while he does have those nomadic tendencies, he kind of wants to self isolate. I think his desire to change and to be the Revolution, I think, is a better fit.
I think it also comes down to, and I'm going to actually take this back to your guys' last draft because I kind of agree with the point that Rick had made, where I think Bucky may have some regret over Jack Monroe and him taking over the identity of Nomad after having killed that man um, is is just unacceptable to him. Plus, I mean, not, I mean, don't get me wrong, he killed the revolution and he took over from him, but at the same time, that was entirely different. And the revolution is more like an actual position based on, what was it? What was the name of the game they were playing? The Century game, based on participating in the Century game. So, yeah, I think the revolution is a more acceptable identity in the mind of the character than taking over the identity of Nomad.
Interesting. Well, I get that. I get that. I think I can't believe I'm going to say this because we had a number of people, we have this discussion all the time about Captain America being a mantle that different people can pick up and carry. But I just don't see the Nomad there. It's just getting out of hand. I don't want it to be like the Scourge, and just like pick up the Nomad moniker for a while, right? And I think like maybe there's another word out there, right? If you're not going to go with a revolution, but you want to like sort of indicate that he's a man without a country or he's a wanderer or a sojourner, then maybe those two titles would be appropriate. But I think you make a really excellent point, Nate, about I don't think he might have regret. I think he does have regret over killing Jack Monroe during his time as a Winter Soldier. And so I think he would be really resistant to the idea of picking up that moniker. So it would have to be something, and it would be just tasteful, I think, to readers as well. But then again, maybe a lot of readers would enjoy that for that very reason. I don't know.
All good points, gentlemen. Yeah. All good points. And Kyle, thank you for the question. I just have one thing to say. The Revolution is 5 syllables, way too long for any character. You can't, in the heat of battle, go, the Revolution! And then next thing you know, the guy's got already shot in the back of the head when you're trying to tell him to duck. So another name for sure.
Tell that to John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
Wasn't that the Red Skull's original name?
Yeah. No, his name is my name too, I think, right? All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for this draft. It was a lot of fun. Again, great stories. Can't wait to see the previews solicitation from you guys, and then we'll take a vote on that. And Bob, any final words before we call it a show?
Nope. Just a big shout out of gratitude to our 2 guests tonight for coming along with the fun and getting into it. I know it took some prep time. This isn't just show up, like Rick will say, this isn't just show up and participate in a show. You got to participate for this, right? So much thank you to both of you for the time you put in and for showing up tonight.
Well, thanks for having us back.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. And I think a credit to everybody in this draft. We didn't have any go to the rule books on what a civilian was this time.
That's true. Good point. And everybody, thank you for rating, reviewing, subscribing. We love the 5 stars. We love the comments. Yes, James Foley, we do see your comments in YouTube, and we do need to comment on those maybe next episode. So as always, thank you for listening to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. I think I've got this ready to go. Just give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right. You want to talk about Rick? What do you want to know?
He's recording this,
Oh, you're right.
Mom's not here. The boys are going to play.
Mom's not here. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's a terrible time for me to mention that my entire draft order was just picking characters I thought Rick wanted.
That's great.
So with the first round draft pick, I'm like, oh, awesome. Okay, it's not Rick. I'm going to do something unique. But
yeah. All right.
He's just so valuable. He hits so many spots.
Well, I mean, yeah, you get friend turned, foe turned friend. Yeah.